Hello and welcome back to another Improvement Season podcast. This is a special episode, I guess, after having done the Improvement Season podcast for close to 8 years. This have been a goal of yours, Steve, of getting a natural pro card for all of that time. I think this is now a very, once again, special episode to then finally be able to say that you've gotten there. You have gotten the pro card, the natural pro card. So first things first, Steve, how are you? And then we can delve into further things surrounding this.
Yeah, for sure. It's weird because whilst that's kind of been a goal and objective for me since competing in bodybuilding, in some ways I wasn't really aware of it when I first competed in 2014, to be fair. It's now been my decade of competing, 2014 first season, now 2024. So it's kind of special in that regard. This year's also been a challenge. So there's multiple reasons that made it particularly special to me. And I didn't really know if I ever truly believed I had it to go pro. As probably a lot of the long-term listeners, and you'll know, Pascal, like I didn't ever know if I truly would be able to achieve it, but it felt every time I competed, I stepped a little bit closer to that, and I thought I had a bit more belief in it. And then, yeah, obviously Eric Helms going pro and seeing that kind of gave me extra inspiration and drive and everything. And then, yeah, to do it is, yeah, as we're saying off air, it still hasn't sunk in. I don't know when it will sink in. There's a few processes behind the scenes that you have to like go through to kind of like cement it. And probably once I put it in my Instagram bio, that's when I know I feel it's real completely. I haven't done anything like that yet. But as far as I feel right now, still quite exhausted, to be honest. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. It's better than it was yesterday.
I can.
But
it sounds like you've been, I don't know, going through a very rough time with very little sleep, as if you've had, I don't know, an entire weekend of your wedding, let's say, something like this, and you just celebrated through with traveling and you just got very little sleep. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, the sleep thing, just to touch on that, it's so interesting in a few ways. Like, this weekend couldn't have gone, honestly, more perfectly. I don't know where to start with things, but we're in this place called Barn, which is about a 30-minute taxi drive from Amsterdam. And that's why I chose to do, because I was between Ireland and Netherlands, umming and ahhing, which one shall I do? Because they're both this past weekend. Ireland was on the Sunday, Netherlands was on the Saturday, and I looked at the Ireland show and I was like, man, to fly to Dublin, the actual venue from Dublin's like hours away. It's quite a convoluted journey versus flying to Amsterdam, taxi to Barn, sorted. So it was like, that's really cool. For some reason, the Netherlands always appealed to me more than Ireland. Just when I hear the two, Netherlands sounds a little bit more appealing to me. And I've had clients do the Netherlands show and it seemed very well ran, great photos, great lighting, great stage, and competitive. And then I also had my client Haj in the Netherlands. So I was like, everything's indicating that's the one to do. So that's why I chose that one. Yeah. And yeah, the sleep thing. So obviously it's only an hour difference. So it wasn't too bad, but we got in quite late on the Thursday in the end. As you know, flights get delayed regularly. So we were pushed back like an hour.
Don't have to tell me.
So yeah, we got in late that day. And then the Friday, which was obviously the following day, was the rapid backload. And so for the rapid backload to be successful, you need to start early because it's so much carbohydrates to get in, and to, as we know, to replenish glycogen, it's a pretty lengthy process. It doesn't just happen like a snap of your fingers. It takes hours and hours and hours, and you've only got that day to do it. So Cliff had me waking up at 5 a.m. So considering we're in late and I'd lost an hour because Europe's an hour ahead of the UK, I got like 4 hours sleep that night. So not ideal. So And that's one of the things with the rapid backload. It's definitely more stressful. I learned a ton going through it, tons going through that process with Cliff. It was very educational. And so, yeah, up at 5 a.m. and then the last meal is at like 11 p.m. So it's a long day for the rapid backload because I'd normally wake up later and go to bed sooner, of course. But the next day, there was an athletes meeting at 8:30. But thankfully, my client Haj let me know that that wasn't compulsory. And so I slept in and I had the best night's sleep.
Okay.
Like, it was I don't sleep well before shows. You know what I'm like, Pascal. I'm an anxious person. I get worried. But I just felt fine. Like, and I think because there's a lot of sleep pressure probably built up, that helped. But I woke up because my watch hadn't updated and I thought it had. I was on like, it was saying UK time. So I thought it was earlier than it was. So I thought I was like in bed and I'd woken up at like 9, but it was actually 10 and I'd gone to bed at like 11 or whatever. So I actually was asleep for a long time in bed, especially for like pre-show day. So managed to make up a ton of sleep, which was awesome. And yeah, then went through it. But the thing with sleep is you'd think I'd sleep well that Saturday night, but because I'd slept in, I think that probably didn't help. And then pre-stage, I had some caffeine, which was at like 5 p.m. or something. So that obviously can upset your sleep. And I find that does. And I was just hyped from the day, man. Like, it was such an emotional day. I was riding on such a high. So my sleep on Saturday night was not great. And then flying back. So my sleep Sunday night was pretty damn good. And then last night was pretty okay. I had a bit more caffeine yesterday though, because I was just running on empty a little bit. So I'm just gathering myself back, you know what I mean? I'm just a bit fatigued, a bit sleep deprived and emotionally somewhat drained. And yeah, my voice sounds like this, I think, as a combination of all that. But obviously Haj was on stage, so I was shouting my fucking ass off at him and then just talking a ton over the weekend. I don't think I normally talk as much as I did then, but I had Mike Chalice, the legend that is Mike Chalice, with me that whole weekend. So we were just talking the whole time, which, yeah, I'm used to most of the time not talking. So my voice got a bit more strained, and then just talking to everyone at the event. So yeah, I jumped in and around things, but that gave you some sort of base.
Absolutely. And this is something that we can go back to, like the things that you've learned about the rapid backload, for example, what constitutes, for example, now getting the pro card officially. But what I would like to hear from you, Steve, is how was the show itself for you? Like the show day, couple of minutes before show, then show itself, and then pre-show, post-show as well. Like, talk a little bit about then the entire experience that you had there. Yeah,
so show day was pretty stress-free. There was only one stressful moment, which I'll come on to. But because the venue was only a 15-minute walk away from our Airbnb, we chilled most of the day at the Airbnb. So the way the Netherlands do it, I don't know if they'll continue to do this, but very often, as many competitors will know, and you'll know, Pascal, at the WBF Supernaturals, you got a coat of tan the day before. And that coat sets as like a baseline, and then you have to sleep in it, which is a bit unfortunate because it tends to impact your sleep. But the way the Netherlands do it, they just do...
Doesn't really feel great, right? Also because you're totally shaved. So completely... I was freezing my balls off on that night. And also, it was just a weird sensation. Then also sleeping in a different bed wasn't great. And I think that many people have that.
Yeah, I think it actually helped that we got there Thursday, had that one night of like, oh, it's a different environment. So got that out of the way. I brought my noise machine. It's my white noise machine too, which helps emulate my home environment. Yeah. So I think because you always get that worst night, the first night you're in a new environment, then it improves. So anyway, that I kind of got out of the way. But yeah, it's sleepy in those bed sheets and with the tan on, and you're concerned it's going to get everywhere. And yeah, if you don't have it can just be a complete hassle. But anyway, the Netherlands just do tanning on the day. So I was concerned about that I wouldn't be dark enough. But the tanners were happy to just like, I got one coat of tan, let it dry. And I was like, I just said to them, I want another, like, can you do another coat? And they're like, yep, fine. I was just like, cool, already got two coats. Then checked it outside and I was like, I'm I'm pretty dark. I could be darker. I went in again and I was like, just give me a little bit more darkness. So they gave me a little bit more. So I stayed on top of that.
Personally, there is no real too dark when it comes to this. There's only too light.
Generally, that's a good rule. I'm always on the side of darker is better than lighter for sure. So I was really pleased actually. From the shots I've seen on stage, the tan looked good. The unfortunate thing the tanners didn't do was they left at, I think, 5, and I was on stage after 5, and so they weren't available for a glaze, and a glaze makes a difference. But thankfully there was other competitors there, and they had their like roll on and their baby oil and all that good stuff, so Mike could like baby oil me up, so perfect. That helped.
So they didn't have it like the WMBF UK, for example, that right before show everyone is actually getting the glaze on, because that's something that I definitely enjoyed, that everyone is just like, come on guys, in here and now go out there, because it's also in the interest of the organizers themselves to deliver very good lighting, to deliver a good show, you know, and that they did it then backstage right before people are going on stage. People just look better, and that is more entertaining overall.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they were there for the whole day, so that they could do touch-ups. Like, they'd gone before the overalls, of course, so there was no ability to get touch-ups or anything like that. And particularly when it's one coat, like if you sweat and stuff, it's not as deeply set, so it does start like what's it called, dripping and all this stuff, and your face starts to look a mess, and that doesn't look great for photos and stuff. But overall, I think a single day of tanning can work. That's what I was convinced by it. If they can do it well, if they stuck around the whole day, there's multiple benefits to that, and I quite like that process. So anyway, we're in the Airbnb till about 2 because of that process. And Cliff wanted check-in photos after the tan. And the plan was, because we thought the location was nearer than it was, that we'd go to the location, get the tan, come back, send the pics to Cliff, because I had a whole setup in the room. But it was just, we'd gone to the wrong location. And so then we were behind. And so I was just like, thankfully Mike was there. He was like, I was just like, Mike, I've made a checklist. Get all of this stuff from the room and bring it here, because I didn't bring all my stuff, all my food and things. So that was the only stressful part. And I snapped at not Mike. Yeah, kind of at Mike. I apologized almost immediately afterwards too. I was just like on edge. My emotions were really heightened because of the pressure and everything. Yeah. But once that was sorted and Mike brought everything, so chill, just like sat backstage, helped Haj with his pump up, watched Haj on stage. He was a bantam, and then just like did my thing, sat just calmly, waited until it was like 30 minutes out for my salt, that sort of thing, for my caffeine, and then began that pump up process. And it was a good size show. It was, because the Supernaturals in the UK is crazy. It's huge. And that also brings more traffic, and it can make it a bit more manic and potentially a little bit more stressful for you too. Whereas this was a size where, I mean, every bodybuilding class had over 8 competitors, so a pretty stacked lineup, but there wasn't so many people that it was so busy backstage that you couldn't kind of move around or pump up. There was plenty of space, and I felt that was really nice, a nice part of the experience. Also, they did a great job of, many shows don't even give you timings of when you're going to be on stage. The Netherlands gave you timings, and I was pretty much to the minute on stage when they said, which is unheard of. Normally it's like way delayed. Yeah. So that was really helpful, having that as well. And then, like I said, from the photos I've seen and the video footage I've seen, the lighting looks really good, actually. So I'm really pleased with, like I said, the tan. I think there were some things that could have been improved, but overall very pleased with that. Then the lighting, the stage, very pleased with what I've seen so far of that. I'll be interested to see the photos. We didn't have 5OS there taking the show shoot, 5OS show shoots. So I know they're not going to be probably as high standard as the WAF UK, which is sad because now I can't compete there and get those, because 5OS does an amazing job. But I'll see how the photos are looking. And after that, like there wasn't much time coming off stage, kind of letting Cliff know. And then I didn't know, because after you came off, we then were doing posing routines. And I'd been doing some research on some actions that high performers take to stay in control of their emotions and get the best from themselves. And so something I'd been trying to work on was changing anxiety and worry into excitement and into to propel myself forward. So use those emotions in a positive way versus negative. So before I went out on stage for my posing routine, or as I was walking to like set myself up to start it, I was like, I'm going to hype up the crowd. So I went out there and I was like, come on guys, like let's do this. And then as soon as my music started, I just got into a very deep, like almost meditative state, and just felt all the emotions from this year, what this kind of prep meant to me, and like poured that into the routine. And then when I came off stage, I just completely bawled my eyes out. I was an absolute mess. People were coming up to me and they were like, you okay? You did great, like whatever. And I was like, I'm not like upset or sad about my performance, or there's nothing wrong per se. It's just, you know, when you just, emotions just hit you and you just cry and I had no control. It was like, yeah, anyway, just happened. And at that point I didn't know, I thought I was top 3. I didn't know how I'd done. So it wasn't like I was emotional about any of that aspect. Anyway, waited for the results, and third got called, second got called. And then there I was like, once second got called, I was like, man, I've probably taken this, and yeah, I got that first place. But at that point I didn't know I'd got a pro card. It wasn't until the overall, and I went out there with the lightweight winner and the heavyweight winner, that when the lightweight got third, and at that point I was like, yes, I haven't come last in the overall. That was pretty cool. And he got given his pro card, and then I was like, oh shit, that means I've got my pro card. And then yeah, they called me second. I got that pro card, and yeah, it was a pretty special feeling. But my emotions, I think I would have cried at those moments if I hadn't already bawled my eyes out after my posing routine. So yeah, that's kind of how that day went.
Yeah. First and foremost, amazing. Like, honestly, sounds also that it meant a lot to you, that there was more emotional build-up than you've anticipated first. And sometimes you don't even know it up until the point that it then happens, you know? It's kind of, I don't know, with other aspects in life or other situations in life, sometimes you don't even know how stressed you've been up to the point when you then be able to reflect upon it, calm down. Same goes for, I don't know, how sick you've been as well when some time has passed, and you can really look back and see for yourself how awful the time has been, right? And then weight is coming off your shoulders. And it kind of sounds as if it was the same for you here as well, with all of the stressors, all of the things that happened in your life over the past couple of months by now, that it fell off your shoulders to some extent. A lot of weight, maybe a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I definitely, in the short term, that weight and pressure kind of came off because of the travel. And then, like I said, the rapid backload is you're eating every like couple of hours. I'm checking in with Cliff regularly, so you're on top. You're kind of not on edge, but you're kind of like, you can't fully relax and chill out during that process. And then I was definitely on edge, making sure we're at the venue on time, and I had plenty of time, and nailing all of that process. Show day is always a little bit like, you're always a little bit on edge as the timing comes closer and closer and closer. And I just wanted to get up there and do it. Similar to like exams, when you remember when we used to do exams, you revise, and you're like, why can't the exam be like first thing in the morning? Because now I'm just thinking and overthinking every aspect. So yeah, definitely once that was all out the way, I was like, wow. But yeah, obviously people know it's been a tough year for me within my life. And I was just thinking about Charlotte, first of all, massively. She was in my head and heart the whole weekend, just big time, because a lot of the reason I've been able to do what I can do is because of her, and to be able to push through has been because of seeing her push through things. And then obviously it was my nan's funeral on the Monday of peak week, which it was just a process. Part of that just like hit me in the back side, like, oh, that also happened. My nan passed away this past week, and I hadn't really had the headspace to be able to manage that. And I didn't cry like at her funeral, for example. And I think it just, that wave hit me once, like, yeah, kind of, I could relax, and then those other emotions flooded in at that point. So it felt good to cry, man. It felt good.
Yeah, absolutely. In regards then to the pro card, because you didn't know that you were getting it up until the point that then the lightweight got the pro card. Do you think that you deserve it?
Great question. So I knew there was a possibility of a pro card because I was very excited when I went for the polygraph and registered, that she was like, there's every men's class has 8 competitors or more, which means there's a potential 3 pro cards to be won, so that people know you need at least 8 within a class to get a pro card. If there's less than 8, it's unlikely you're going to be granted one, from my understanding. But it's also not guaranteed that if there are over 8 and you win, that you get your pro card. It's up to the judge's discretion. So the judges might decide, hey, you're just not there yet, even though you won a class out of 15, whatever it is, which I think is the right way to do it. So, because otherwise it's like, yeah, you could be substandard and there was just like 14 other very substandard people 100%. In the class. So as far as I'm concerned, the judges thought I was pro card worthy. And so that already is like stamp of approval. Second, I came second in the overall. And so it's like, well, that guy who came third was a pro and he's very good as well. If you've seen him,
man,
he's won multiple shows and things,
that
right?
Shape.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, honestly, when I saw him, I was just like blown away.
Yeah, exactly. And then looking at the heavyweight, I was like, I'm going to look tiny next to him. He's going to blow me out the water. But I saw photos, and I've posted some of these with the overall photos because they're from Lewis, and it was his 2 clients in the overall. And I just looked to myself. I was like, you know what? I'm pushing him. And on some shots from the side where I'm my strongest, I'm taking him, especially condition, obviously. But
you haven't shared those yet, right, Steve? Because I haven't seen a comparison between the two of you. So yeah,
that's the photos I shared from the overall. The Stefan, the black guy who won.
Yeah, but I just saw, maybe I missed then those pictures because I only saw the pictures where you stood there with then the sign of the pro card side by side, but never really saw any kind of comparisons between you two.
Oh yeah, there's a front relaxed comparison and then like side, and like if you just flick through the carousel, you should be able to see those.
Oh, sorry. Then it was just my fault.
Yeah, that's all right. So yeah, there's multiple pictures there, and then obviously Mike was recording everything. So I vlogged some of the depletion of peak week, and then I vlogged the whole weekend basically. Yeah. So I'll be able to put that together at some point. And Mike got all the stage footage, so I've seen how I stack up to these guys in every shot, and yeah, it's given me a bunch of confidence to be able to stand next to someone of that caliber and hold my own, especially in a front relaxed, which is my weakest shot. So it's given me a ton of confidence going through that process. And so I do feel like it's not just being given to me because there was 8 of us. It's actually, you deserve that. And it's given me confidence to go into now the pro ranks, where I get to play bodybuilding on hard mode and think that I'm not just going to come last. I can challenge for some top spots. And the exciting thing is, me and Cliff have already just discussed it. This is not my best look for this season. I have more to give for sure. There's more condition there. And with that, maintaining the same muscularity and fullness, it's very exciting. So yeah, I feel like I deserve it.
Perfect. That sounds amazing. Then in regards to what the next steps are you planning on doing another show except for then Worlds, or what's the plan now?
Yeah, so I had planned, because obviously I kept this one basically under wraps to just reduce the pressure of the week, because obviously I had my nan's funeral and it was going to be a high pressure week for me. So I was just like, hey, let's not announce it for that reason, just so I can't imagine how stressed I would have been with all of that going on at the same time. So I'm glad I didn't do that. But so people would have known I was planning the WNBF Supernaturals. That's my number one prime show. And I'm very sad that I can't do it for multiple reasons, because I know tons of people doing it. I know I had people coming to watch me on stage. I know the stage is going to be amazing. I know the lighting's going to be great. And I know I'd bring something very, very competitive. And I have hopes that I would be qualifying for Worlds for sure and do very well. So yeah, I'm kind of gutted I can't do it, because now I'm a pro. They have no pro class for me. So I can't do that show, but I will probably. I need to confirm with Steph. I just need to confirm on my end. She wants me to come and judge. So I'll probably be judging at that show. I also have Andrew in men's physique at that show. So I'll definitely be there regardless. So that's cool. I was like, maybe I can do some guest posing. That would be good. Then I can get on stage still. But it'll be amazing to be there. And so that one's not happening though. And then the UK FBA was planned the week after. But I actually am not allowed to do that show as a WNBF pro. Yeah. The WNBF, they have the rule of you have to have competed as a pro within the WNBF before you can do other like affiliations.
I mean,
in organizations.
To some extent.
Yeah. And as everyone listening will know, the WNBF has been where my kind of head and heart have been, and I'm a judge for them, and that's where I wanted to turn pro. And so I love the UK FBA. I think they do a great job. It's very competitive. Again, I'd have loved to have been there. I think it would be a great stage, and I am signed up for it all, but I'm not going to be able to do it. But I do need to do a pro class competition before I can go to Worlds in Boston as a pro. So I am looking currently at the Switzerland International Pro show, basically, which is at the end of October. I think that's when it is. So I've got in touch with them to see if they're like basically happy for me to kind of come and do that show. But the organizer of the Netherlands, the president of the Netherlands WNBF, really sold that show to me. She was just like, it's super picturesque between mountains, beautiful location. It's very high standard. It's, I think, maybe one of the longest running WNBF shows there is. The people behind it are really good. Cool. Yeah. And the owners of the WNBF, I believe, are going to be there. Steph's going to be there judging as well. And then looking at flights and everything, which I always take into consideration because I hate flying. And I want it to be like as convenient as possible. But the flight is basically the same as Amsterdam. It's a little bit further, but barely anything. And then again, from, I think it's Zurich I come into to the location. It's like a 40-minute taxi or something. Not terrible at all. And so it would just be mirroring what me and Mike did this past weekend in Barn, get an Airbnb, like fly out on the Thursday, come back on the Sunday. It's a Saturday show, which is always nice because then you don't stress about coming straight into a Monday. So yeah, I'll probably do that. And that's in like 4 weeks or something. And it's a great like middle ground between that and then Worlds. So
yeah, you have plenty of time to push for another more competition. I wanted to say conditioning, as exactly. You guys basically discussed already, that you have more room to give. This then sets you up for Worlds, where you can probably push for the most insane conditioning, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. If I can get to a Worlds, we'll see how I'll go in the pro ranks. But anything but last is like huge to me. And yeah, I have no, what's it called? I don't intend to come last, put it that way. Like I intend to place well. So let's just see where I fall. I'm a new pro, so I don't think the expectations are massively high. I wasn't one of those people where you're like, yeah, you're guaranteed a pro card at some point. It's something I've, not to say others haven't, but I've had to fight tooth and nail for and put everything, cross every T, dot every I. And so I'm excited to claw my way within the pro ranks now and give it my best.
No, that's super exciting, to be honest. Let's take a short break and then be back with a little bit more details around, like, for example, the peak week. Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We created the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. Additionally, you get access to our exclusive Revive Stronger member site, where you'll be able to watch over hundreds of hours worth of educational content. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger. So speaking of which, Steve, you've brought up the rapid backload and how much insight you've gained just going through it. Can you share a little bit about this without sharing kind of the secrets of rapid backload and all that kind of stuff? And what is it that you've learned in that process itself?
Yeah, I can definitely share a lot because, to be honest, in regards to sharing the secrets, I think it's there's so many moving parts that even if I give you exactly what I did, you're not going to be able to apply that to yourself perfectly. And there are parts to what Cliff did that I don't feel confident enough. I'm not at that stage of understanding that process well enough to be able to do that. If you Google rapid backload, and I've done this and I've watched these vlogs multiple times over the years, this competitor Cone Wolf comes up and he vlogged his rapid backload. And I watched those before whilst doing mine. And these are, I don't know how many years old, maybe 8. And his rapid backload is almost identical in many of the processes and steps as mine. Okay. But obviously it's refined for him as an individual. Yeah. But in terms of the weekend before the show, the depletion, 4 days for 4 days with the food selection, the food selection during the rapid backload itself, the timings, almost identical. It's kind of wild to see it like that, in fact. So yeah, like I said, the information is out there if people want to know like the step by step, but it's Cliff starts looking at you quite often and making very small manipulations. When I say very small, I'm like, he might add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt to a meal. He might add or remove 1 rice cake or 10 grams of fat in various places. He might ask you to eat something a little bit sooner or a little bit later. It's that level of refinement that I can't even... The skeptic in me is like, how can he even see that in my physique? How does such a small change make that difference that he's kind of quantifying? But Cliff has been doing this for almost a decade. He has been refining this process and he knows it like the back of his hand. So yeah, I think the rapid backload takes a certain type of person, as we know, in regards to you need to be lean enough to be able to respond to it. But also I think it takes a certain type of person who can adhere to some of these very, they're quite stringent requirements. It's not flexible. You need to eat like every few hours, very specific amounts. You need to be prepared to make changes and be comfortable making changes on the fly, that sort of thing. But let me give a big picture overview. So the weekend before, it was a refeed, back to back to kind of fill out. And then from Monday through to Thursday was depletion, which was basically chicken, beef, olive oil, and greens. My carbs were 50 grams or less every day. My fats were, I think, around 70. Protein was like 230 or something. So high protein, higher fat, deplete you. It's basically to get you as flat as physically possible over those days to super compensate you to respond to the rapid backload as best as possible. My weight, as I think I said to you, Pascal, maybe, went from 176 pounds. And then 3 days later, I was down at 168 and a half, I think, somewhere around that. Yeah. So you can already see what the depletion was doing. The other aspect of depletion is very high fluid intake. So I was sitting around 4 liters, and I needed to move towards like 7 to 9 liters, which like 2 gallons or so. And so that was a big change, but that also depletes you further, right? Flushes you out, because it's also depleting you of sodium too, because you're pissing out all the electrolytes as well, and potassium to some extent, because you're only getting a few greens in at this point. Your fiber is also really like 10 grams or something. So it's just like, that's why your body weight just plummets like mad, which is pretty wild to see. But it also brought about levels of condition I hadn't seen. You get a very, very tight look. I was still having sodium in my diet, so it wasn't like I was getting rid of all of it. But when you do that, yeah, I just was looking very stringy, but like tight, not holding on to like stress-related water retention or something like this. And so that's the leanest I'd ever seen. My glutes and everything was during that week. So that was pretty cool. And obviously during that period of time, you're in a heavy calorie deficit. So I lost significant body fat during that short period of time too. And then on the Friday, like I said, it's that rapid backload. So you start very early, and the first meal, for example, was raisins. And then I get like a full body pump up. And then it was like dextrose. So really quick to digest carbohydrates, raisins, dextrose, a little bit of whey, dextrose, whey, which was super weird meals to eat because I was just like trying to make like a thick gloop with the dextrose. But if you add even just a bit too much water, it ends up being really runny. So I was just like having a dextrose soup. It was just like this really sweet soup and just so many carbs.
I mean, in a situation like this, it's not about having the
no, exactly,
tastiest meal or the best cuisine ever. It is just there for a purpose.
Process. Exactly. So yeah, meals after that, like my rapid backload day, I think came to like around 850 carbs for the day, 100 grams of protein, like not much fat. I don't know if there was any fat sources in that day. I don't think there was. So yeah, it was, like I said, dextrose, and then it went on to like potato meals. So it was literally just like roast potato plain.
Amazing. Sounds like a good week.
The potato ones were the ones that were tough to eat. Just like plain roast potato. And this roast, it was just dry, and like your mouth is a bit like anyway because of the stuff you've been eating. So anyway, they weren't enjoyable. Some meals had salt with them, some didn't. Like some rice cake meals had salt with, so then I'd put like, it was like a caramel rice cake salt sandwich. It'd be like caramel rice cake, salt, caramel rice cake, eat it. Like a salt sandwich. The rice cake meals were my favorite. They were the best ones. And then there was a couple of big bowls of Cheerios. So the reason for these specific carb choices, it's just like a diet. It's not the specific foods that are important. It's what are those foods providing you. So it's carbohydrates, of course, but then rice cakes have barely any salt or potassium. Cheerios have a little bit of salt and potassium, and then potato, obviously heavily potassium based. Raisins, lots of potassium in there, easy to digest. Dextrose is just pure carbs, easy to digest. So it's like, when you're doing a rapid backload, you have to pay attention to those finer details. Whereas when you're just carbohydrate loading over like a backload of multiple days, you've got the time component, which means you can chill out with those variables. You need some potassium, and you need some sodium there to allow the carbohydrates to be stored properly, but you don't have to be as on top of it in that regard. And then that day was up to 2.75 gallons of water he wanted me then. But that was actually easy to do because it was such a long day and I was eating so many carbs. So my fluids were the highest they've been ever.
And in taking pictures and videos, how often did you need to actually then go through the process on a day or on that day itself and sending things over to him?
Yeah, so during peak week, it was every morning sending photos. And then on the rapid backload day, I think it was just photos at 3 p.m. was when he wanted them, which makes sense. So that I've had a chance to get some of the carbohydrates in and see how I'm responding. And then I think we did 2 or 3 more lots of photos through the day. I think it might have just been 2. I have it all on my phone somewhere. But yeah, it was about that amount where then he'd make small changes. And Cliff actually called me of the evening as well to talk through some things with it. So like the contact time with Cliff is not that much like throughout prep, but then in peak week, he is like on you. And especially on rapid backload day and show day, he is like on top of you, which is cool to see him go through that and see a coach at the top of their game doing it like that. And again, it's a like if you can't do that as a coach, then you might not be able to give someone a rapid backload. You might have to use a less acute peaking approach because he's 6 hours, 7 hours behind us. So it's I guess he has to take all of that into consideration.
Reflecting upon it, do you think that going through that diligent process overall is worth it? Does it really get out that little bit more additional detail, or is it something that you would say is probably something that you don't find worth it?
For the right person, it's worth it. Absolutely, I think. For me, worth it because I want every percentage possible from my physique at this point in my career. But in my first season, second season, would it have been worth it? No. It's just not worth it at that point. I wasn't like, you're not competitive enough to respond well enough and execute it well enough to really warrant it, if that makes sense.
So it's basically the same as on a professional level when it comes to any other sport. If you are on top of the game, everything matters and everything counts. That little bit of extra thing to set you apart from others. But if you are a recreational sports athlete or so, worrying about those minute details is more stress than any kind of benefit to you.
Yeah, especially because obviously the more acutely you try and load carbohydrates, the larger the risks. And then you combine that with the lacking experience. So Cliff obviously has tons of experience. So the risks of him doing it with someone's relatively low. He also works with generally a high caliber of individual. But if you're a coach and you don't have much experience and your client doesn't either, and then it's like their first, second show and you're trying to rapid backload them, it's like, man, that's the wrong tool for the job.
Yeah, not only that, if you don't really have a lot of sample sizes to play with over not just one season, but several seasons, I think you're playing mostly with fire and you're basically not, you never really know what it is that you are actually doing.
Yeah.
You're trying to manipulate variables that you don't really have any control over because your sample size has been so little. And that's why it's more like, I don't know, playing a video game or playing some kind of instrument, and what comes out of it sounds all right, but you have no idea how it is that you got to it in the first place.
Yeah. So there's much safer, guaranteed effective ways to peak in those sort of situations, which is what my default typically would be.
Yeah.
But again, for me, where I need everything on my side to bring to be able to have gone pro, do I think I could have gone pro without the rapid backload this week? Probably. But I don't think I'd have done as well as I did with it, if that makes sense. Because your physique is before peak week. Peak week doesn't give you like an extra 10%. It's like 5%. It gives you a little bit of an edge. So the difference between two well-executed peak weeks is like, again, 1 to 2%. So yeah, it's not a game changer, but it's definitely something for that person that wants that like finishing touch to give them that extra little bit of an edge. And in many ways, there was some cool parts to it because even the depletion, it was like I couldn't have artificial sweeteners, I couldn't have sauces. It was literally chicken, beef, salt, olive oil, maybe a little bit of flax oil. I think there was a little bit of flaxseed oil in there as well, which I had to specially buy. But I allowed myself to have, I did ask if I could have a coffee. So I allowed myself decaf coffee as well as coffee. So that was the only other things I had. But it was, I did actually, on saying no artificial sweeteners, there was actually a 1.5 scoops of whey protein every day, which I actually made up with water and had it in my Ninja Creamy. And I put in olive oil, and it fucking was banging.
Once again,
I don't know if Cliff would have been okay with that.
Ninja Creamy.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the secret ingredient that made the difference.
Yeah, it's just, I was like, man, I don't just want to have a protein shake. I'm going to do this in the Ninja Creamy, use some of the oil from another meal. And I was like, wow, that actually, that was the highlight of the depletion was this. Yeah. So it's also taught me, I thought previously I'd got, condition's always been something that I've been very good for. People would think of me in previous years and be like, yeah, Steve was, and I have been actually, as objective, I've been one of, if not the most conditioned person on stage. I still had more to give, and I just needed to dig even deeper. I think when we've said, oh, did I need to push or pull back at various times, like to reveal that last bit of detail? It was, I think, to me, the answer has now been, I needed to push more. I needed to take my body weight even further down, because right now I'm sitting at 170 pounds. I wasn't sure if I'd need to get below 170 pounds this prep with how things were going. And I'm a very similar stage, like that's about where I was in 2021, but my physique looks completely different because I've got that extra muscle to be able to show this condition too. But I'm looking at like my face and things like this, and I'm like, I think that's actually, I mean, this is the most conditioned I've ever been for this Netherlands show. It was a complete new look in every sense, more muscle, more condition. So knowing I've even got more runway, it's like that saying is, you can always get a little bit leaner. Take that to heart. Even if you're someone who's very lean, you could probably still get a little bit leaner.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But to be fair, your face still looks very good in my opinion. Like not that skeleton look, you know? So.
It's only this, where is it? Like there's a bone, you can't really see it. Like this bone up here, like really sticks out if you see it at a certain angle, or from the side, you'll like really see it. But yeah, not too bad. I'm not so bad.
No, you're not. So sometimes you have it as well, especially for first-time competitors, that their close environment is already very much worried about them, simply because they have no idea about bodybuilding and what it is that they are doing. And they really do believe that the baby boy is actually quite sick, that something is wrong, and they are starting to worry way earlier. And of course, due to the face, that plays into things. And I think that you don't look sick or anything alike, which is, I think when you're getting to the point of looking sick, then you know that you're probably quite lean. Of course, this is always individual dependent. Some people just simply store a little bit more fat in their face. But I think when you're getting to the point of looking very much sick to the outside, you know that you are lean enough most of the time.
Yeah, it's funny. I have some clients who have proper skeleton faces when they just start dieting. They're not even like 10% body fat maybe, but they're like be emancipated in the face. So I am glad actually that my face holds on to like relatively okay shape, because it will be a long time to look like ill in the face because Worlds is end of November now, so it's still ages away. Man.
And that has been then a long prep after all, but it was to be expected. That was the goal after all, well, to begin with rather, and it doesn't really come as a surprise then.
No, and it'd been a really smooth ride up until, and it's still smooth of course, but I wasn't really feeling like I was in prep until a couple of weeks, maybe a month ago at most. Whereas now now it's true prep territory.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other questions you had about the peaking process or show day.
No, peaking process and all that kind of stuff, not so much, but now the process of getting the pro status, because you said that there are still certain things that need to be done and run in the background. What are we talking about here, Steve? Yeah,
so I think I said, so Steph just called me last night and just like congratulated me and said like, am I accepting the pro card and all this? So that's happened. And so she sent me an email, and I basically need to purchase, I think, the pro card essentially. So I need to spend some money to do that. But also I need to confirm this because the shows are in proximity, but I need to also, it says I need the urinalysis to come back because I had a polygraph of, like I said, So that's confirmed, like quote unquote natty. And then I had a urine analysis as well, but that takes like a month to turn around. But then that'll be a bit too late to sign up to the Swish show. Yeah. So I just need to confirm, like, do I just pay for the membership, knowing that I'm going to come back as passed and can sign up to that show? I can't imagine the urinalysis coming back with anything. The only thing that I had that was different nutritionally, or like, what's it called? Supplement wise, was Cliff likes GDAs with the last 5 meals, a glucose disposal agent with the last 5 meals. But I had like one from bulk powders, like I checked that if there was anything on there in the WADA ban list, there's nothing there. So it was like, only if that was contaminated somehow, which would just be a complete freak weird thing. But I kind of, yeah, so basically that's going to come back fine. So I just need to buy my pro card basically and confirm that I'm okay to buy that before the urinalysis comes back. So then I can sign up to the next show. But that's really it. I don't think there's any other aspects to that a worry that like need to be looked over.
No, absolutely. And then would you see yourself already as official pro?
Yeah, at this point.
Totally.
Yeah. Once I wanted to speak to Steph and just confirm that, like, I don't know, that everything was great with that and fine. Yeah. And once I'd spoken to her, it was like, yeah, I'm kind of a pro. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I can change the Instagram bio right
now. Yeah. It's mandatory, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super surreal. The downside is, I think in the UK, when you go pro, you get a sword, right? And in many countries, you get a sword.
Is this thing for all of the shows.
Yeah, so
I know that you get
a
it
sword or anything.
At the BMBF, I think it is, or UKDFBA or so.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, anyway, some of them you get like some sort of thing like that. But I just got I brought the card home, so I've got that, and I will mount that and mount my medals that I've got over here. So I'll put those on it. But
not really satisfying, is it, Steve? Like
only quite like a dangerous weapon.
Yeah, exactly. Some other people get a sword, and you're just only getting like, what is it, out of cardboard or something like this?
Yeah, I don't know what that material is, but
hey. I think that I do remember a Jackie Chan movie where he is actually fighting with some kind of cardboard or so.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
So maybe it is actually a very dangerous weapon.
But yeah, so anyway, I can't believe the first show of the season, and I kind of, like I said, it couldn't have gone better from start to finish. The whole travel, having Mike there with me, Mike Chalice, again, shout out to him. He was absolutely vital for the weekend to be a success, and it was great hanging out with him. From Barn being just a beautiful place, the weather was amazing, so nice, and then the organizers of the event were amazing, and the other competitors and people in the Netherlands are fucking nice people. They're just so kind, like super cool people. So yeah, and to have had a stacked lineup so that the opportunity was there to get the pro card. Yeah, so many things landed where I needed them to be, and it's many ways lucky, but I certainly don't think that pro card was it wasn't luck that I ended up achieving that.
I don't know. I mean, when it comes to luck, it's of course always individual dependent, or rather situational dependent, but mostly what people call luck is a lot of sequenced events that led to that point. That was then, of course, self-induced, intentional, etc., etc. So when it comes to, I don't know, someone being very much successful in their job, most of the time that's not really luck. There may be a little bit of luck to it in terms of finding the right thing at the right time, but you need to still produce it. You still need to set things up, because there are so many examples out there of people having a great idea and yet it doesn't spread, simply because they don't know how to sell themselves. They don't know how even to produce their product, right? All that kind of stuff. And the same goes then for bodybuilding. I think that there's very little to it when it comes to luck in bodybuilding. because it doesn't really happen overnight, at least not for the vast majority of people, that you're building that amount of muscle mass, that amount of conditioning. Well, yes, you sometimes have those insane freaks who just show up on the day. You've talked about it in the past already, Steve, that sometimes you just have someone like this showing up, turning up, didn't really do any kind of prep, really maybe only for like 4 weeks, and yet they are taking it all. But it barely ever happens that it's out of luck.
No,
especially not for you. So, yeah.
Talking of freaks, have you seen this photo yet?
No.
So can you bring up Instagram?
Yeah.
And bring up my post, and then just scroll, and you'll see the guy that took the overall. You'll see my front relaxed, and you'll see that it's the best it's ever looked. But then you'll see some comparison shots between the overall, and you'll see how good the lighting is, and how decent the tan is, and how also my tattoos do not detract from the physique.
Not at all.
In the slightest.
Right now, before you said
notice.
Before you said anything, I didn't even notice at all.
Yeah.
The good thing is, though, that those are the body parts where you're not really paying a lot of attention anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, but his shape is just insane.
Oh, he is like no waste. I saw him backstage, crazy. And I just was like, oh God, this guy, he's going to be a monster.
Yeah.
Crazy quads. But yeah, at some point I'll show you some like comparisons of like side chest, side tricep. These are shots I think I take him on. And also I learned that I lean too far back on my rear double bicep, and it definitely hurts me on stage. So that's already been a good lesson for going forward too. So yeah, you missed the carousel of actually seeing how I looked on stage. But even actually I saw the front door, the holding the pro card up there, hitting a bicep shot. I was like, wow, I look like that.
Yeah, that looks amazing already, to be honest. Yeah. I also very much liked the backstage photo that he's posted that Cliff Wilson also used.
The most muscular one.
Yeah, that looked very, very, very solid.
Yeah.
Best conditioning so far that you've ever had.
For sure. Along with the muscularity and everything. So, yeah, it's been, wow, what a journey. What a journey. 10 years in the making. Persistence. If you love this thing, guys, like, you don't know what you could achieve. Just keep working at it, and good things will come to those who wait. That's what they say, right?
Yeah, and not only that, this is what I love about the Improving Season podcast, basically, because people have been following along for the last 7.5 years when it comes to the Improving Season on a weekly basis, and then also following you probably on Snapchat, YouTube, Instagram, and now being able to then see the results of it, especially considering like back in 2017, 2014, the way that you looked there in comparison to now on stage, completely different. Right? Yeah. And that is perseverance, dedication, and it's like I said already underneath the comment, underneath your post, like it's a reflection on how far you've come and how much work you've put forth. Because, and this is what I mean with luck, right? You had to do a lot of things in order to get here. And this is why it's not luck at all. It may be luck who's then showing up on the day, whether there's a very competitive guy or very competitive guys showing up. But what it is that you brought forth has nothing to do with luck at all.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone who has already congratulated me, who has reached out to me, and especially you guys listening to this and giving me props and who have followed along the journey. You have a very good idea of how much this means to me. I think
even though that Steve doesn't really sound euphoric right now, and the voice, the tonality,
a little bit low energy. I also have to train legs after this. God damn it! It's going to be tough, guys.
Yeah,
but a lot of you will know how much this means to me, especially competitors who have been working at it a long time too. I think you'll know. But yeah, this year again, like Pascal will know more than you guys will. It's not been an easy year, so when I start thinking about it gets me emotional. Just makes me want to cry thinking about it. And I'm just excited because it's only the first show of the season. There's more shows to fucking crush it, and My dream this year was to get to Boston. It was like literally a pipe dream to get to Boston and compete as a pro. Matt Ogus, I think, said it to me off air or on the podcast, where I was like, knowing you, Steve, that's your plan. It's to go to Boston as a pro, isn't it? And compete there. And I was like, it's not my plan, but I mean, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it can actually happen. So,
yep.
Whew, I got my cardboard pro card. Yes.
Absolutely. And on that note,
I can talk down to everyone.
Yeah, on that note, thank you very much for talking us through the entire experience and the weekend and all that kind of stuff. And there's more to come, hopefully. So, Steve, on that note, I guess we end the show, and then up until next time.
Thank you, guys.
Muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality, and we know how to do it, and we will help you achieve this. The Minicut movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.